I think I'm saying that we struggle all our lives to answer it. That it's the struggle that is important. That's what helps us to define our place in the universe.
This is Beverly, Dr. Beverly, Dr. Beverly Crusher. Honest.
Forceful.
Trusting.
Brilliant.
Strong.
And adventurous.
And this is Crusher Convo. Hey guys, and welcome to Crusher Convo, where we're crushing the conversation one episode at a time. Tonight, we are reviewing episode 4 of Star Trek Lower Decks, A Farewell to Farms. And with me in the guest chair, you may recognize him in the Star Trek universe. It is Dr. Trek himself, Larry Nemecek. Hello, Larry. How are you?
Hey, Jesse. I'm doing okay, considering everything this week. I was at the Voyager premiere last night, which helped brighten a little bit of spirit this week. But it's good to see you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
How was it yesterday?
It was very. I mean, it was aside from it being 455 and David Zappone and that crew, and people having seen their work over the years, it's still a crowdfunded movie, so it's not like a big studio thing. So they had it was at the Paramount Theater, where a lot of things have happened over the years. But it was still a very the film was great. People had a good time. It was a fan backers and a crew, a screening for all the crew, people who sat down on camera for the thing, and then a lot of people who just worked on the show who weren't. So it was what it was, but it wasn't like this big lavish with a lot of food and drink. It was kind of you could tell they were on a budget, but that did not take away from everybody seeing each other and having a good time. And I had a lot of little mini reunions and grabbed people and said, You'll be a guest on Portal 47. You'll be a guest on the Trek Files, right? Yeah.
No, maybe if you want to drop my name a little. Be like, hey, I wouldn't mind. I'm just saying.
But no, I think, and then there was there was nothing official afterwards, and we had to get out of the theater after about 30 minutes. But there was a little bit of an after thing at a bar down the street at Edmonds, and I talked to a lot of fans that I hadn't talked to already, and everybody enjoyed it. Of course, if you were there, you were probably a big Voyager fan to begin with, and all. But no, I mean, everybody was. It was in my not to make this about the thing, but I was about halfway through, and I thought, wow, this is a lot edgier documentary than the DS9 What We Left Behind was. And then I thought, well, Voyager DS9 was an edgier show than Voyager was. This was a brighter, happier documentary, and they still went to, I hate to say, controversial places. Nothing was sugar coated, but they got in honestly, but it's been 20 and 30 years, and a lot of people were open to talk about things, and some drama, like the Kate and Jerry situation drama, has been resolved, and they've gotten over it and moved past, which makes it anyway. But there were a lot of they didn't leave a lot of stones unturned, like Ron Moore's little brief. So anyway, I think people are going to enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm excited. And actually, we already have someone in the chat. It is Chuck. Hello, Chuck. How are you doing? He's saying hello. Larry is great to talk to at STLV. Yes, he is.
That's good.
We met when we were was it a Bally's, and I was like this close to your table as I was waiting in line for Jonathan Frakes, and I'm all like, hi. And you're like, here's a sticker, and I'm like, okay, and that's how it all began.
But okay, how did I say something to you? That was your first one, right?
It was my first one. It was 2022, and I recognized you because I had just jumped into Star Trek, and I had said, I was like, oh, I know who you are. I was like, I'm new to the franchise, and you're like, awesome, and you're like, here's a sticker, and you started talking to me about different things and then we started moving along as the line was going. I was like, see you later. But it was like I was touching your table.
I was touching your table.
I know, it was that close. We were very.
My speed. That was 2022, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my speech over and over again to everybody who was and there were a lot of first time people there, which was exciting and encouraging. And and the impact of the new shows was finally starting to roll in. I think of all the new series, no matter what was your favorite or not favorite, just that there were so many, and the animated shows and the voice actors with the Prodigy and Lord, but whoever it was, there were so many new people, and I was always say, that's awesome, this is great. but just please think this is not the real STLV. Like, please come back when you can come back to the Rio, and it'll be the real SD. And people like, enjoy this year. I'm not telling you not to. I'm not trying to gatekeep about the hotel site, but and the con of experience. But please come back 1 or 2 years from now, and I saw a lot of those people the next year, and I go, well, do you get it? And they were like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah. I think that's what I said to you when I saw you in 2023. I was like, now I know why you told me to come back.
Yep.
Much bigger space. It works perfectly. But we are here to talk about episode 4 of Lower Decks. Super excited.
Yes.
I'm not a huge Klingon fan, but I do enjoy Lower Decks Klingons. So I'm going to go and show a clip, just a quick clip of the episode. So here it is.
Your presence is a burden. Leave now.
No can do. See, I just heard you lost your captaincy, and I'm gonna help you get it back. You make this?
Yeah, our family has spent generations perfecting the bloodiness.
Ooh, who's this tall drink of water? Water? You guys have water, right?
Yes, we have water.
I just love this show.
No one has water but the Ocampa, apparently. Yeah.
Apparently so. I mean, this show makes me like the Klingons. That's how great it is. Like, I just they have magic. Mike has magic in his show. But what was your first impression with it? I mean, there was a lot going on. It was, two between the Dr. Migleemo and then the Klingon stuff. But with your first impression,
So between I hate to say this, between everybody being emotional, upset, and invested about this being the 5th season and the last season and all that, it feels like we've gone from fresh Trek every week to these Trek islands. And I feel like Lower Decks, this season of Lower Decks, isn't getting as much attention as it normally would. And maybe that's the distraction of the campaign and the election this year. Maybe that's the distraction of a lot of things going on. But I feel like people had to remember to get settled in with Star Trek again. And unfairly as it is, the 2 animated series don't get just the normal numbers, I think, viewers and all of that. And maybe that translates to, like, we're here, you're here, I'm here, Crusher Convo's here, Second Opinion's doing, my things, and so many more. But I still feel like overall the attention. So anyway, it's like, people I hope are watching after 4 episodes in or whatever. But this I enjoyed it. And this is so distinctive in its 5th season, and there's so many things just happening. And I love that it was a split. I love that this was a canon show in a lot of ways. Both, farming Klingons, the part of Klingons that you didn't know you needed to know about, but it's awesome. And then the other was, Migleemo and his culture and his people finally get a name, much less a backstory.
that's true. I have a question though. What did you think of the intro?
I was going to say, I was like, because I knew the title was called A Farewell to Farms, and I went, okay, it's going to be something with farming, but is it really going to resemble anything of A Farewell to Hemingway's novel, A Farewell to Arms, which I read the Cliff Notes. I've never read, I'll say, but I read the Cliff Notes enough to know that this has nothing to do with the plot of A Farewell to Arms. It was purely for the pun factor. Okay. And and then it starts off, and I'm like, okay. And then it has that soft, I keep thinking, what movie is it that, are they parodying?
Insurrection. I thought it was Insurrection.
I was thinking, I went with Farewell to Arms, and I was like, what were the Farewell to Arms movies intros like? And then I went, well, just in general. And then I went, oh, it's like the soft opening of Insurrection. I kept wanting a kid to poke out of a haystack or something.
Exactly. I'm not a huge fan of Insurrection, but I was all like, I think I know where they're going with. And again, I'm very proud of myself that I got that Easter egg.
I still haven't, until I get to ask Mike or ask the writer, who's a new writer, a new producer this year, and writer. Mm-hmm. But what I got into doing with all the shows the last couple of years was trying to slide into if I didn't know them already, slide in their DMs on Instagram. And a lot of them are like, oh, I'm so excited. This is my first, or they've done some other work, but it's their first Trek, and maybe they're a secret Trekkie, and they took a pay cut to come over and write this script. Something what makes them excited to go, oh, Trek fam, I have a Trek cred. I'm so excited. Yeah. And sometimes you can get little nuggets from them before they do a formal interview or before they're under the horse collar of the studio promotion machine doing something with them. And I hadn't had that chance yet. Again, everything feels a little underplayed this year with this season and all that. So I'm curious to know how many, because there's a lot of, I feel like there's several homages here, maybe in even some of the Klingon, there's so many Klingon words that are both old and maybe new. Anyway, I just love finding that kind of, that's your Easter eggs. There's your Nemecek it outs.
But no, I was watching it at work at first, and then I was all like, wait, this isn't the normal intro. And it's all soft, like you said, soft. It's showing the farm and everything. I was like, is this based on Insurrection? So now Chuck, he said that he didn't go to Bally's. He went to the Rio in 2023. He had to cancel this year because he's in the middle of cancer treatments right now.
Oh,
and yes,
I hope it's going well for you, Chuck. Yes.
Yes, Chuck. Absolutely adore you. You're all over the place, and thank you for the support that you give to all of these podcasts. And then we have here, hello, it says the show is wonderfully silly, makes all the jokes I'd make with friends about the Star Trek franchise. Pretty much. Yeah.
People are so worried about Lower Decks being a comedy Star Trek, but it's basically after 10, 12, 15 years of Facebook memes and everything else. Yeah. It's like the jokes it's in-house jokes, not someone from the outside making jokes.
Exactly. But it works. Like he does it so well that it works within the show where it's like, this is canon,
Because it comes from the heart, and it comes from it's not rando jokes. It's the characters. Mm-hmm. It's the story and the characters, and that's where the humor comes from. And the Star Trek universe at large. And the other thing they do, and like second or third season when I went, holy it's like he's got this list of the 47 things that fandom has argued about for 40 or 50 years, and they attack it in the show. It's so meta. Like, is Starfleet military or scientific? And, why do we have so many uniforms? That's silly. And just so much stuff and things about, and now, and even they don't even do it on the nose. Like there's things about Klingons in here that are like just a little, if you stop and you go, oh, okay, he's they're making, one of the characters will flip off something, Boimler half the time. And it's just like, oh yeah, he's making fun of that thing people talk about. And they don't give you an answer, but it's like, don't worry, we know.
Yeah. Well, they did that. Terry did that in season 3 of Picard because he knew it was going to be brought up. It was the, what was one of the jokes? Picard asks Beverly, Jack, his accent, and she's all like, oh, well, he went to school in London and it must be in his DNA, because everyone was like, how does he have an accent? He already knew they're going to say something.
Oh, yeah.
Write it in the show.
Well, it's like, when they rebuild the D bridge, and Picard, is it Picard or Riker looks down and says, oh, I missed the carpet.
Picard. Yep, exactly. They're so good because they're fans. And I even mentioned that to Mike when I had his interview. I was like, you guys, like you and Aaron and the brothers and all that stuff, you guys know this franchise so well because you're fans. And that's what makes it so special. Mm-hmm. You're bringing everything that we love into this and doing it in such a way that just is so enjoyable.
Yeah. Yes.
But
it's weird. It's almost, I brought this up with somebody one time about, is it, because in the old days, it was just like writers would come in, they'd have to learn Star Trek. And then you had that quiet revolution when TNG hired, well, they had them at first, and then Dorothy and David left Next Generation, and then you had people learning. But when Ron Moore was the quiet fanboy who got hired, and then Renee Echevarria and Ira had been, and then eventually until you finally got even on Enterprise, Manny Koto and Mike Sussman and them. The fans got the keys to things eventually and made cool shows. But it's almost like I said one time, is it almost like an equal opportunity thing where you're hiring, you're a producer and you're hiring for showrunners and hiring for writers, or even art people and visual effects people. And it's must know Star Trek a little bit. And it's I'm sorry, this is prejudice. You have to apply. Everyone who applies has to be considered. It's is having Star Trek knowledge considered anti-open hiring?
Yeah.
Because I wish everybody hired already came with that.
I know, me too. Now, it's funny that you mentioned about the Klingons and things like that. So I had actually grabbed a couple of
Yes.
what they were saying, the translation. Hopefully I translated it right. Now, of course, we know Chudich, and that means second, which is your
Right.
second, whoever. So, and my little tagline under my name, it says Larry's Chudich. So I'm your second today.
You can be my.
This one, I am not even going to try to pronounce. It was like Lajwakpu or something,
Yeah.
which means losers.
Mhm.
Yeah, which is losers. Takjad is begin the torture. So
That's probably from the Ascension Chamber. And the first time they had pain sticks was Worf doing his Ascension Chamber thing,
And
second season on Next Gen.
Cod, which I forgot to add that on there, which is begin the torture, and that was when they were about to do the pain sticks. And then Kwa is full. And then the last one, let me see if I could see it here.
Shotla?
Shadhi is Boulder Dash.
Well, see, you got these. Yeah, you got these probably lots of options for an English translation, but that was.
I mean, it makes sense, It's nonsense, but it was Boulder Dash. I was like, that's been a while. My parents used to have that trivia game or Boulder Dash game when I was a kid. That was my thing.
Where's licensing should be all over the Klingon version of Boulder Dash now. They've got the name right.
Right? They do.
They're missing out. Yeah.
So Joa says the episode was very wholesome, Klingon wholesome, so it was about family and was very stabby. I loved Boimler. I mean, it has to be stabby if it's Klingon, but I love Boimler. Yeah. He's just being so different, and he's all like, "This is Klingon as hell." Like he was so enjoyable. I was having.
It was Klingon tourism. It was like not Klingons as tourists, but people being a tourist on Klingon. He was like, oh.
He was so excited. It was like if he went to, let's say, I don't know, some kind of a museum, or even like, let's say Paramount Studios, right? And you're like, this is where they taped this, and it's like, this is awesome. That was Boimler.
Well, my favorite line in the whole thing was, so they're in the Warriors Pit, the bar, right? The Klingon bar with the thrash Klingon acid punk, which was a thing Tendi said like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
2 or 3 seasons ago. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's the Klingon acid punk. And the thrash loot, did you notice that was a Vulcan loot, but it had been like thrashified?
No, I didn't.
She has the guy waving at her, and she's like, oh, yeah. His quasi-girl. But, there's a line where he says, Boimler's like being all Klingon tourist, and he's talking to Ma'ar, and he says, wow, the Warriors Pit, this is like exciting to be here. Is this the one where Martok slew the 12 in the... He's like, no, that was the Warriors Pit in the Keitha Lowlands. It's a chain.
Yeah, it's a franchise.
It's a franchise.
I mean, it was, and I think I even put, and his mustache.
Like, Quarks is the only franchise place? Which, see, there it is. Again, you get back to, the whole thing is tweaking the fact that the whole, like everybody isn't warriors, and you had that already. We've seen Klingon clerics and Klingon chefs and Klingon lawyers. It's like they're not all but they all kind of go. And his brother is like a bro. He's like the guy that just wants to sit home and drink and play games and wrestle Targ. But he has
Russell Targs, Yeah.
He didn't want to do the pain sticks at all.
Yeah.
But he's just a big goof, But it's I love how it wasn't but Ma'ar has his foot in both worlds. He's like, I really want to get out there, but of course I can do. It's like Picard could go back and do why. See, that was the other thing. It was almost like a Klingon version of Family, where he's stuck at home, or the beginning of Picard, where he's back home, literally in the vineyards and other things.
Yeah.
But I really want to be out there, but for right now I'm here.
Yeah, it's a good parallel between the two. I think with all in that regard, it was funny because at first it was like, why is Mariner and Boimler here? What's going on? But then later on we find out that they were actually looking into the dimensional rifts that were happening, and apparently there's more of them, and it might be man-made. Someone's making them, and so I like that because now they're kind of telling this one story that's going to be a season long, like we had last year with Nicholas Locarno. So,
well, and even the year before.
And the year before.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which I noticed that I said this last week on Second Opinion that Mike McMahon said early on, there will be a thread, but it won't be like every teaser last year was whose culture ship is going to be encountered and done away with this episode, and you went through everybody, Federation, non-Federation, but he said we'll have that, but it won't be this omnipresent thing. And if you go back and look, and it was so unformulaic that I think people forgot to remember it was there. And I was trying to say, okay, 2 of the 3 episodes have some kind of a quantum vortex, other universe thing, adjacent universe. And then, so this one, so each time, instead of being like, and here's the plot here's the season arcs scene.
Right.
Each one has been a little, so this one, it's totally like you get to the whole story, both halves. And at the very end, it's kind of like, oh yeah, and here's the clue about they don't say it, but for the audience, it's like, oh yeah, well, what we were really doing the whole time was chasing these clues about this quantum vortex, and here's what I learned. And it's like, that's the clue for the season. It doesn't have to be this big, huge.
Yeah, and of course the other
very organic
season-long arc that's happening is Boimler's beard is growing. Chuck says Boimler's beard is a growing thing, and Joaz says Boimler's beard is paint by numbers because it is growing oddly, but it is
okay to have a season arc that's not an epic season arc. I would say that's more a character arc, but yeah.
Yes. Now, with the other half, the Dr. Migleemo stuff, that, like you said, we didn't really know about his species, and we're learning more, and I guess they're connoisseurs of food. But he, of course, is now, you see that he went off that path to become a counselor, a therapist. So
in the finest Star Trek tradition of the native who is the outcast a little bit and leaves their culture, and like Worf, like Odo, go down the list of the ones who were a little bit of an outcast who they're trying to find acceptance from their home people.
Yeah.
And it weighs on them a little bit. And Spock, even with his own father for so long,
Yeah, exactly.
You weren't a scientist.
Well, same with Picard and his family. He wasn't a vineyard. Yeah. So yeah, it was very nice to see a little bit of a backstory for the Doctor.
Since after 4.5 years, it was like here's the name of a species, and about their planet, and about their culture, and here's the little phrases they use, and it's like bang all at once.
I did like though when Tendi and Rutherford were helping, and at first he's doing a replicated dish, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's disgusting. He realized he did something wrong, so they're deciding to make this hogfish thing, and she's dicing up, and he's like, oh, you have amazing dice skills. She's like, assassin's training.
Which makes
which is true. Yeah. It's absolutely true.
No, the best thing was when she brought out the little, what is it, a squeeze bag, icing bag? And the icing bag has the Starfleet Delta on it.
Yes. Oh, for the manure thing? Yes.
Yeah, of course. I was like, of course it's got a Delta on it. I get annoyed when that's Strange New Worlds and Discovery. But when it's Lower Decks, it's like, of course. It's
fine. Yeah.
They have deltas on the bottom of their boots.
Do you think we're going to have more Freeman in? Because we've only seen little bits of here and there, the captain, and she was a little bit more involved, but
like Ransom had there's been no Shax and no Ta'ana so far.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like maybe a line, but Ransom had the little bit, and there'd been no Freeman all season. She you hear her doing captain's logs, and maybe she's like standing there welcoming somebody. Yeah, this is the most that Freeman had been part of, and even then, it's not much.
No, I mean, she's defending him, right? Because at first she's all like, can you please take over because I might do something un-Starfleet, because she was getting very annoyed by these two. But yeah, I mean, it was funny because and it's a typical trope where it's like there's these two rude people and stuff like that, and turns out they had a secret, and then they're found out, and the one person that could help him, he was, what did he say? He's a chef of the mind. Was that what he said?
Yeah.
When he was talking about being a therapist or something. And he had mentioned that before because they were very surprised that he left the cooking, I don't know, track, food track.
It's like Klingons that aren't warriors. It's like Vulcans that aren't scientists. It's like Ferengis who aren't in the
business.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a good little backstory. I mean, because like I think the biggest thing that the Doctor even had before was with Tendi, and he had to fight whatever that was
Yeah.
for the Orions.
Yeah, but he's usually just been and that was the season, wasn't it? Or was that
It was
last? Okay,
last season.
they're blurring
Mhm.
a little bit. I've only watched through one.
I know.
No, but I mean, it's yeah. Ever since that, he's always been like the butt of jokes or the joke scene. Starting with the first time you saw him, when it was like she's like, Freeman says, "I want you to go see Dr. Migleemo," and she's like, "No, not the food metaphors." And it was the joke at the beginning, and it's like it's all grown from that. But they didn't that. It barely, like every once in a while, if he had 3 lines in a show, one of them would have a food metaphor in it. It could be totally like not part of the 3 main plots of the episode, but it was there. But I mean, this is really the first time somebody said, "Okay, finally," and it's almost like I think by the time they got to 4th season, Mike is like, if there's stuff we really want to do, we ought to like pack it in because we never know when they're going to cancel us. And I know they didn't know they were canceled when they wrote this.
Yeah.
It's still too early. But
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of little bits and pieces happening and some of these things that were set up, like Ma'ar is the Wedge Douche. That's out of Wedge Douche originally. They're getting T'Lyn got followed up and made a part of the crew, and somebody along the way said we're going to get back to the Klingons of Wedge Douche too because that was too interesting. And then they did last year. So
we didn't have T'Lyn.
Like, huh?
We didn't have T'Lyn.
T'Lyn was like, wasn't she like just in the background? Watching.
Oh,
yeah, T'Lyn was not. T'Lyn
she was not
part of
involved. No, I mean her episode was last week. That was her big episode, which I loved. I loved her in last week's episode.
And the bit about repairing and the opener was it the first one?
Oh, with the ship. Yeah, I think that
shuttle.
was Shades of Green. So the second-ish on when it was premiering. Now, Chuck says more legacy characters ahead, according to Mike McMahon.
Yes.
Except for Beverly Crusher, unfortunately. Unfortunately, Mike was like, I wanted to write her in, but I couldn't because she was doing season 3. And he's like, it's kind of hard do a comedy while they're doing this. And he's like, and now I didn't get the chance. And I was like, heartbroken, shattered in a million pieces. And I was like, I understand. But it would have been lovely. We did get Wesley. So yay.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about what other legacy characters though that are going to be.
But just remember the time frame of Prodigy and Lower Decks, and they're like 2-3 years apart.
Right.
Lower Decks is a little earlier, and Prodigy is 2 or 3 years later. But both of them are like 8 and 10 years ahead of what you just saw in Picard season 3. So anything right now, Beverly would be out being a phantom,
Yeah, well, I was talking because I'm big on dates and stuff like that. And actually, I believe it was Tony from Trek Movie. He believes this is around 2382 because they had mentioned Naomi being 10 years old.
Oh, yeah, these are very specifically slotted in. Yeah.
And so I was all like, oh, so that means Jack's a baby and she's hiding right now. Because then in Prodigy, and it was 2385. He's a toddler.
The star dates in Freeman's captain's logs and things are right in line with the old TNG forward dating, where it's 1,000 unit years, and they're going right along with. And
I love it. I eat that stuff up. I love it when you go along with that, and
just the universe. I mean, of course they should use it.
They're telling the story. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now here's Miss Powell family. Hello. She says, Ma'a's name has always seemed to me to be an homage to McMahon.
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a good one. She's very good. I love her.
Well, since Beckett Mariner is his sister, then,
Yeah,
he's getting
that makes it. And here's Patrick. Prodigy is technically not canon anymore-ish, right?
No.
No, it's canon.
Yeah.
It aired? Canon.
Well, I mean, but they go out of their way to have, Aaron, I have pictures, eventually we'll get into this, but he was showing me, when I finally got to go in, he was showing me how they had they took a page from stellar cartography and blew it up, and they were plotting roughly where they were. Everything is near the beta everything in the Delta Quadrant, like they had Cations, but they also, like when they had the Kazon, it's like, well, how'd they have Kazons are on the far end? Well, by then they're bopping around, I guess.
Right.
But he said, no, here's where we had things plotted. And then they came back, then the show comes back down to the Romulan neutral zone. But he said, here's where, and one time they took a crazy dip way over into the Gamma Quadrant and came back. And he said, no, we were very physically following everything. And if we halfway mentioned a relative distance or we had to keep something roughly in mind, we did. So, yeah.
Oh, awesome. I think I remember seeing them doing that. Now, the one thing, though, that as Mariner and Boimler is helping Ma'a and Maylor, they do the pain stick stuff. They're doing everything. It was Boimler that talks to him. It was like, listen, you don't have to do it this way. Like, if it's not your path, just do a dip, and he mentioned about, he was on the coolest ship. That was the Titan, right? When it was he on Riker's ship and then he went back to Cerritos.
Yes.
Is that what he was talking about? Yeah. I mean, he loved Riker, and then he was like, but no, that wasn't my ship, that I needed to go back home. Right. And it was like, you make your own path in this sense. And it was with his brother. Right. And of course there was a killing, which I don't know why I was surprised. I was like, oh, they actually killed the guy.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
Yeah. But then he had killed it was Klingons. I mean, Mariner and Boimler were there. And he had already killed his brother, which was the whole point of him, like, you killed my brother, and so now I'm not, like, and he didn't, like, hate him. It's just like, you think I'm going to cut you some slack? You killed my, it was like a very Klingon casual death kind of level,
Yes. Yeah. Which, I mean, Maya, I'm probably saying it wrong, but he got stabbed first and he just pulled it out and they stabbed him. I was like, he's cool. He's like Martok. I am a Martok fan.
Yeah. Well, like Martok got the shout out here too. But remember, I mean, Klingons have double everything, supposedly. So if there was like a stomach, which is when he got stabbed and didn't die, I'm like, okay, now if anything else happens, it's got to be really, really, really dead. And that's what they did. He had to that's what
they did.
Yeah, he was really, really, really stabbed and dead.
Exactly.
With his purple blood, oxidizing purple.
Chuck says Aaron Wolke is so great to talk to. He really is.
Mm-hmm.
He's a fan. But I mean, I was just talking to him about the Crushers, and it was just like all this information, and I was just eating it up,
Well, the other thing you can tell. Oh, Aaron's there's a little bit at the end when they're talking about the Janeway impact. Aaron is on for a minute talking about using Janeway in Prodigy, and Terry is on talking about the Crushers, in Picard. Wait, that's not right. Voyager. What am I? Oh, using Seven and even using Seven in Picard and even Tuvok. They're at the end. Yeah.
Oh, at the very end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Joa, this question's for you. Who has more double organs, Klingons, Time Lords, or Space Marines? Definitely not Time Lords. He has two hearts. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not
anything about everything else.
I'm not the Who. I know a little bit of Who, but I'm not the Who person. I need to get my friend James Kerwin in on this one, if that's. But yeah, I think that's true. Yeah. Klingons
only
have
two hearts.
Everything, which has been blown to comic extremes, as you know, in some corners.
Yes, I do. I'm going to go with Klingons. I'll just.
Yeah, Space Marines is what franchise is that?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. There's Space Marines in a lot of things. That show that was on that Jeff Mandel worked on.
Battlestar Galactica or anything. I haven't gotten that far. Mike told me I need to watch
but I'm
that.
Not sure
it's going to take some time. Miss Palfamy says Mariner was so mature this episode. She's becoming such a good officer. And yeah, we've been seeing that growth. There was definitely a split. Mariner's becoming more, like she says, more mature. She's taking responsibility. She's trying to take a step back while Boimler's like, I'm going to jump into danger. They kind of flipped. Because Boimler
but it's a growth for both of them. He's not.
Yes, exactly.
He's not a coward, but he's comfort. He's found thanks to her and thanks to other things, he's found a comfort zone with being bold. But he's bold. Okay, I started to say he's bold intelligently. Okay, when he's getting thrown around by the Klingon. But Mariner still. It's when she had her Becky Freeman encounter, I think.
Oh,
she's saying, she's like being cognizant of it. It's like, okay, it's like I can turn it on and off. I don't have to be a slave to my desire, this is her therapy here. I don't have to have those feelings and be a slave to them. I could acknowledge the feelings and turn them on and off when I need to. You know what I mean?
Well, it's funny you said that, because when I asked Mike about the season, I was like, what can you tell me about the season? He's like, Mariner is freed. That was his answer.
Because that was the question too, is if she resolves her inner turmoil, what's the character then?
What's next?
I mean, she's
Yeah.
happy and funny, but what's what's next? What's going to be the heart for her moving forward? If you solve her arc, then what do you do with it?
It looks like the Space Marines is Warhammer 40K.
Okay, so no.
Way off. And then growth, we love to see it. And then Tanya is such a great actor. And yeah, I mean, they all are. It's been amazing seeing just how just these characters have grown. Even with Tendi, Rutherford, like everybody has just shown so much growth. To Lynn, for sure. And she's, the new one. But I do want to mention real fast before we get into the next segment, that Boimler screamed last week. I want that as my ringtone. I'm not gonna lie.
When I said this
no
on
one can do him more than Jack.
When he went off the cliff and it was the okay, I was like, okay, this is really funny. And then I went, wait a minute, and it was so off, and it was the cliff and the thing, and then he's still I'm like, okay, part of this is how long are we going to stretch this until it's like how long are you going to push this? And they pushed it all the way. But then it turned into, he went behind the bluff, and then it's like I was thinking there better be a little poof of smoke there. There was, and I was like, yes, it's a Warner Brothers, it's a Looney Tunes homage.
Yes.
And then I saw some, I think somewhere they said, yep, it sure was. Yeah.
My goodness. No, I mean, I just cracked up because, like I said, I'll watch it at work at first as I'm preparing for the day, and all I heard was the screaming. I just started laughing, and one of my workers was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "I'm fine. I'm just working. Don't mind me."
Well, the one last week with the killer, the nanite killer 20-sided die of death, thing. The way it was so zany and running around and people. It roll over people and absorb them, but they weren't dead. It just sucked them up. So it was kind of like comic violence, if it was even violent. That also was just so crazy. Bugs, Daffy, Roadrunner.
Oh, absolutely.
Type, Looney Tunes. That whole episode last week was just because it made it's like it was defying physics. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, this is one time when the animated Star Trek is leaning into classic animation. So.
I will say, though, I was slightly, just a smidge disappointed Wesley Crusher wasn't mentioned, but it's fine. He created these nanites. He should have had some kind of a shout out, but it's okay. It's fine. Yeah, I got over it. But I did do my tricorder rating to have people see what they rated this episode. So I'm going to do that right now.
My tricorder.
I only got 7 votes, but that's okay. 70% gave it 5 pain sticks, 30% gave it 4 hogfish, and 3 and 2 amuse-bouche.
Amuse-bouche.
I mean, that's how they got caught. They thought they were eating some delicious amuse-bouche, and it wasn't. With their little bag with the label. Yeah.
That was such an amplified animated Star Trek gotcha thing. I was going, okay, they're too arrogant.
Yeah, I was waiting for that. I was like, they're gonna do something. Something's going on. But what would you rate this?
I'm sitting here madly now trying to think of another cool thing. Hogfish got me there. So is it 1 to 5? That's how your rating is?
Yeah, 5 is the best.
I was like, wow, nobody went above 5. I'd say a 4. I'm very hesitant to ever hand whatever, whether it's 5s or 10s or 100s or whatever. I'm very hesitant to give out the top one until I. So 4 is 4 is high praise here.
4 is high praise. I gave 5 for last week because I really did enjoy the episode. They did a lot of good closures. I think Talin was awesome. I was enjoying it.
I've just randomly seen people online or in threads to Second Opinion and things say they thought that the third episode was a letdown after the first 2, and I'm like, I didn't. They're all differently toned, but I didn't think it was a letdown at all.
Yeah. Now, Miss Powell family has a question for you, Larry. Was the micro Starfleet ship a reference to something? I think she's talking about last week's episode.
Oh,
To that little baby Voyager type ship that was stuck.
Oh, I think it was just that not like a licensed toy, but I mean, I think that was last episode's clue about the greater season arc being alternate quantum universes somehow or something.
Yeah.
That really threw it. That was the part of last week's show that like no one talked about, and I was like, wait a minute, we just had like a one little ship version
that just showed up.
Everybody thinks of quantum universes as do you have a goatee or not? You know, it's like, but like, what about size? Like micro. There was the micro universe on Playing God, and I totally forgot about that till just now. But that was the one time when they said, "Here's another unit," and they weren't trying to say it was a mirror. You know, it wasn't like that was a perfect little Starfleet vessel and a perfect little Starfleet captain in their little universe. But that's the only time anybody, and then the shrinking ship on one little ship joke. And the animated series had the Terratons, but that was artificial shrinking, and they enlarged them back to real life. But no one ever talks about, is size a component of, because some of that's, okay, I am not a scientist, but I suddenly started sounding science weedy. But, you know, like it's a thing about mass.
Technobabble.
It's people would say when Odo goes down to being a flea, what does all the mass go? Is it like the world's densest flea when he becomes a flea? Or when he becomes a cloud? Is he, you know, or a spaceship? Is he the lightest spaceship ever? I mean, so there's things like that, but we never talk about this. And that's what got me on 3 levels last week. But the bottom line thing was, oh, look, it's another adjacent vortex.
Another reference.
Universe. Yeah.
Dimensional rifts. And of course, that little joke of the, she said it was a month of hell instead of a year of hell.
Yeah. A month?
A month.
It was almost like, hey, audience.
So, like I said, I enjoyed that episode. But let me check my notes real fast because I think.
So we barely talked about the Klingons. I just love that name.
Oh yeah,
it sounds like a chicken clucking, and I love how we've got avianoids like so.
Which they did.
Yeah, I was going back a little bit. So on remember the peanut hamster show with the avians or the avianoids or the ornithoids or whatever. They were the Ariori. Anyway, and these are Klingons. And we had the Aurelians from the animated series where all this started. Mm-hmm. And then Prodigy had the Aurelian, but he was a flightless Aurelian. I've gone blank. Oh, Adik. And anyway, it's like so it's not like, oh, the different animators are just getting sloppy on how they draw because normally they don't. They're also anal about doing everything, you know, on both shows on Prodigy and on Lower Decks. So that's why I was glad. And then here's Migleemo, who they don't say is species. And it's like, is this like a lazy version of Aurelians who are very sleek? And he's got the Tweety head, you know?
Yeah.
Chicken hawk head. And so finally, no, it's a different species. And then I was going back and went, oh, the avians that Peanut Hamster was with were round headed too, but they were different. And then the Aurelians are kind of sleek, and then the ancient school. Anyway, I was like, okay, we're having a diversity of avianoids, much less diversity within each species. Like the Aurelians, some of them are flighted, and then some of them don't have wings, and they can't fly. Anyway,
I blanked that out because Peanut Hamper is not my favorite.
Yeah, but I mean, but hey, it's canon. It's in there.
Miss Powell says, isn't that name a joke on a bird's orifice?
Klowakin? I haven't got that far. I was at a premiere yesterday and had to drive to it, so I'm behind. I'm about halfway through.
I would be surprised. So, guys, just so you know, he has his second opinion that will air. Is it tomorrow?
We're working on it now. It'll either be Saturday night or Sunday. Yeah.
Okay.
Dr. Trek.
You might get your answers. You might get your answers then. I plucked Larry too soon for his second.
I couldn't get everything. I can't give everything away today anyway. I have to save something.
That's true. Yes, we have to save some so we can see your second opinion. But was there anything else that stood out in this episode that you want to mention before we move on?
Well, we need to mention one thing that in the voice, a lot of the voice. So the guy that played I love the fact that the Klingons have an oversight commission. Like, that's so numbingly bureaucratic.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, aha, see, they're bureaucratic. They're bureaucratic Klingons. But some of the voices. So the guy that did the voice of the guy he killed is the same.
Uh-huh.
I've lost where's my little actor notes here that I'm still putting things together. So Ma'ar is John Curry, who played Ma'ar on Wej Douche and Inner Fight.
Mm-hmm.
But his brother Malor is Malor, not Malor. Malor was the tyrant that fought Kahless. But that's Sam Witwer, and Sam Witwer is the same guy that voiced in the same show. What was his name? Leglorn. He was the male Cloacan, so he had two different. He was the Klingon both. But Colton Dunn was the voice of the brother that he killed earlier, and now he's Barg, who is the Klingon that says, "You killed my brother. I'm not going to grant your bureaucratic form here." So the same guy did both of the brothers that wind up dying. But the biggest one of all is the Klingon that acts like she would have been his girlfriend, but he's not a captain. And that's Mary Chieffo.
Chuck just said that. I was waiting. I was all like, yep, Chuck beat you to it. Sorry. It is. Oh, no wonder her voice sounded familiar.
Well, she was playing a really low, kind of seductive, thing.
Yeah.
That's what. See, the minute you said that, I was like, "Wait a minute, I'm not a biologist." But
this is all technobabble. We're all learning as we go.
It is the cloaca. Yeah, the cloaca is the rear orifice that serves as the only opening for the digestive, reproductive, and urinary tracts, if present, of many vertebrate animals, not just birds.
Oh. I've learned something new today.
The minute you said that, I was like, wait a minute, that rings a bell, and I hadn't thought of that.
Well, see, this is why we have Mrs. Powell family here, because she catches these certain things. And then Chuck says, "I am a doctor, not a biologist."
Yes. Oh, he's not on camera. I started to say my plushy McCoy back here would.
Your plushy McCoy.
Plushy McCoy would want to agree. Yeah.
He would agree for sure. I did enjoy this episode. Like I said, I'm not a Klingon fan. And so...
well, Lower Decks will make you a fan of anything if you're not already.
Exactly. That's pretty much what happens. The only thing that I really enjoyed that wasn't animated Klingons was, like I said, Martok. Love Martok. I thought he was great. And season 3 of Picard Worf. That's about it.
Then Worf,
just that Worf. I thought that was good, but I think they just are so good at putting together these little things and puzzle piecing, not only because like we were talking about the dimensional rifts and these little topics here and there, but then closing up other chapters, and it's only 20-minute episodes, but it's so smooth. And it's just, and then you just want to watch more of it. Yeah.
They harness that zany pace of animation, but it has to be that way anyway. It's exaggerated, but they compact that whether it's visual, like the shows, like with the Collector, where it's like 40 billion, 47 billion, like Easter eggs to find on the walls, and they zip by in a half a second, or it's just a lot in the characters and the cloaca.
Yes. Actually, I just forgot that I had my Instagram live on. And Rashid says, "Hey guys," he says, "hope you are well, Jesse and Larry." And then he was talking about leaves their culture. Get it, Larry? I wish I knew what he was talking about, what reference we were talking about, because I forgot to look at my Instagram.
What did he say that you're puzzled by?
He said, "Leaves their culture. Get it, Larry?" So I'm trying to think what we were talking about when Rashid wrote that.
Well, I was saying something. We were talking about natives who leave their culture and they're not part of the mainstay.
Oh,
like
yes.
non-warrior Klingons, non-capitalist,
yes.
friendly, yeah.
That's what it is.
Non-scientists,
Okay.
Vulcans. I don't know.
That's what it is. Okay. Because I wasn't paying attention. I'm looking at this chat, but the Instagram chat doesn't connect. I was like, oh shoot, I need to go check. And so he wrote that probably.
It's your empire. You'd better.
I'm so sorry, Rashid. But yeah, so that was, like I said, I enjoyed it. We give it 4.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to write in the chat.
And the Klingon who was, if people didn't get it, Korin, the other Klingon, the younger Klingon on the Oversight Commission, was the same, and the reason Mariner had a connection with him and why he came at the end and confided to her. He's the general, and way back in the second episode that she and Boimler escorted, and they all got drunk together. But they'd had a history back then, so that's why he was so up for telling her what was going on and ratting out the blowhard and all that.
Isn't that where Boimler he's all like, because he got his name wrong, and he was like, I'm just happy that I'm even, remembered for this.
Yep. I'm just happy we remembered incorrectly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you, Larry. This was so much fun. I mean, and like I said, you guys are going to learn more with Larry with his second opinion. So hopefully either tomorrow night or Sunday.
Yeah.
But I definitely loved it. I do have one more segment if I could find. Oh, actually, I have 2 more things to actually.
Look at you. You're so. The only time I had a segment show was when Ollie and I did lower decks, when we did a life support live and we had segments and.
You had segments, yeah. Well, first off, I'm going to be doing my redhead alert. First off, I am going to talk about Trek Talks that is happening on January 18th. It is a telethon that helps raise money for the Hollywood Food Coalition. Find out all their information at trektalks.net. You can find them on any social media at @Trek_Talks, and their YouTube channel is @Trek Talks Telethon. And my Be Kind Like Crusher design, as you see right here, on my TeePublic store, all the proceeds will be donated to Trek Talks next year. So go check it out. Oh. And TeePublic is on sale as we speak. So also check out Larry's TeePublic, his store at teepublic.com/stores/Trekland/shop. I got all that down. The next topic that I have here is super excited. It's Investigate. So Gates McFadden's podcast Investigates drops its first 4 episodes this Tuesday on November 12th. The second batch of 4 episodes will drop on December 4th, so please do not forget to check it out on your favorite podcast app. She will have interviews with wonderful people like Todd Stashwick, Michelle Hurd, Jess Bush, David Ajala, and so many more. So don't forget to check that out. I am super, super excited. Here is my information. You can buy my Crusher Convo merch at my TeePublic store. You can hear all the audio versions of my podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, or wherever you like to listen to your podcast. You can support the pod by doing a one-time donation at Buy Me a Coffee, or you can become a Patreon member as low as $3 a month. For my Admiral Patreons, I will be doing reviews of Gates's podcast, so don't miss on that. And also an Admiral Crusher shout out to Engineer Mark. So thank you for your support. And you can find me on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and Blue Sky. Don't forget to like and subscribe here on YouTube. And all this information can be found on my website at crusherconvo.com. Hopefully I got all of that out. It was a lot of information, but I am super excited because, guys, I did make up to 200 subscribers on YouTube. So yay. And I was doing a contest for people who were going to be new subscribers. And so I made it to 200. And so I'm going to announce the winner right now. So yay for Dr. RDA over on Twitter at Ahava Cohen. Congratulations, you won the Beverly Crusher ornament, which everyone was so excited about. I was like, and I'm in Idaho, and trust me, these were like not going, so I was like able to buy 2. So thank you guys for subscribing. Super, super excited. I will reach out to you so we can give you your ornament. But yeah, I've just been, I'm no longer really on Twitter anymore. That was kind of like Crusher Convo / personal stuff, but I'm strictly now on the other socials. So hit me up over there. But yeah, this has been really, really great. We've been doing a lot of things. And like I said, if you guys want to get that Be Kind Like Crusher t-shirt, all the proceeds will go to Trek Talks next year. So I'm super,
awesome.
super excited on
That's
that.
very
Yeah.
cool. I need to do something.
Yeah.
Like that. Thank you. Thank you for always, for whatever reason, thank you for always including my little TeePublics. It's there, but it's like I don't promote it. We don't put new things in a lot, but it's there. People want stuff, especially I think about glasses more than I do t-shirts and things, but it's all my brands are over there. So
all your brands are over there. I mean, it's because sometimes it's the full price and sometimes it's the sale, so it's always good to
they have the sales twice a month, which is great, like a third off. Yeah,
so that always helps. Chuck says, thank you, Jesse and Larry. Miss Powell family says, thanks for a great episode. I really appreciate it. So Larry, where can they find you? Do you have anything happening? I think that you said something about happening next week.
I've gone through some, I've gone through some big events already, but I'm going to say everything is at LarryNemecek.com, but I grabbed these from the show. So every Tuesday at 1-ish Pacific, I have Trekline Tuesdays live, which is my live show with the chat. And sometimes I have a guest. Oh, and next Tuesday, my guest is going to be a Nana visitor with her book.
I'm so excited.
That. And then every Tuesday, of course, we have the Trek Files from Roddenberry, which now has a new homepage on Memory Alpha, so that you're right, the player and the audio and the documents of the week and anything, photos and all that's all there with the links back in. And then I keep mentioning Second Opinion, which I somehow don't have a thing here for, but Second Opinion, when there's fresh Trek, is my review show that's about 15-20 minutes, but it's my reactions, and I still laugh at everybody that has to be first. So I do my reactions, but I let a couple of days go by to see if there are reactions to the reactions, and maybe I can pull, especially now that they're not 90% of the world is not getting screeners or something, but they it takes a little longer now. But I also like to try to, as I mentioned, ask writers and directors and people, if I have a hunch about this. Was there a thing? Yeah, that was my first grade teacher that I made into a Klingon word or something. So I like to get those things out too. Yeah. And Cadet Alice, we still have Cadet Alice watches Prodigy with Dr. Trek too. So
now I'm a Patreon member of yours. I'm a part of.
Yes, you are. I get to shout you.
Yes, so it's definitely fun. It's always, sometimes I don't really get to make it on your Tuesdays because of work, but sometimes I try.
My big thing, Portal 47 is my big is my big backstage package of several things every month, and we've got a great Portal community. And then of course I do day tours that we pre-plan at Trekland Treks around LA for location sites. So if anybody's interested, but that's all at LarryNemecek.com.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. So, and
the YouTube. I'm so bad about my YouTube.
Yeah, your YouTube.
Yeah, please. I need the numbers.
I've done that. I'll sometimes just do the YouTube and forget that I even have a website. And I'm like, gosh, dang it. That's why I wrote everything down this time. I'm like, I'm going to forget something. But thank you all so much for joining us tonight. I will see you guys next week as I discuss episode 5, Starbase 80 ? So we shall see how that goes. I don't know what's going to happen. But as always, thank you, Larry. Trek well, everyone. Live long and prosper.
You stole my line. Trek well, everybody.
Trek well, but thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Bye.
Crusher out.